Yes, we are live. Welcome, 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 my dear beautiful friends. This is episode number, I guess, 139 or 138. This is episode number 138 on the Zero Point Healing Show. And I'm Vishnupriya. Just a short intro before I move on to my guest here. I have an amazing guest today, and we're going to talk about beyond quantum healing modality. And this is one of the modalities that I initially got started in my holistic healing journey. So I'm looking forward to this entire conversation here. And just a short intro about me before I move on. So I'm Vishnupriya. I am certified in multiple different holistic healing modalities. And through this beautiful journey that I've come through, there was, for me, the holistic healing world has literally turned my life upside down. So that's how I guess this whole entire ZeroPointHealing.com web directory got created. With maybe I got too inspired with these different modalities and how these modalities kind of transformed my life. And I was like, how nice it would be if there is one platform, one website where all the modalities, all the practitioners can be. So that's what ZeroPointHealing.com is all about. It's a web directory that I've created for all holistic healing practitioners, all holistic healing modalities. And interestingly, we are putting together something called Global Healing Carnival, which is upcoming in just 2 days this weekend, where for the first time we are bringing together holistic healing practitioners of different modalities and clients together in one place, where the clients can receive 8 healing sessions with 8 different holistic healing practitioners on this weekend of June 19 and 20 of 2021. So if any of you are interested, you can contact, you can comment below, and we're super happy and excited about this new creation that we are putting together in this directory as well. All right, so that's my short intro. If you're a holistic healing practitioner yourself, I welcome you to the web directory. You can create your profile for free. And if you're interested in this kind of an interview with me, you can contact me for that as well. Alrighty, so now I'm moving on to my guest here. Welcome, Ben. Thank you so much for being with me today, and it's such an honor for me to have you, share your experience in this platform. So welcome, and tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you ended up in beyond quantum healing.
Thank you, Vishnupriya. It's an honor to be here. So my journey started back in 2009. I had just become curious about what was beyond the physical, about spirits, ghosts, things like this. And I started experimenting with lucid dreaming, meditation, and some astral travel. And I started doing a lot of exercises around those, including yoga too. So I was basically what I was doing without even knowing it. I was loosening up my etheric body. And one day driving, I lived in New York City at the time. I was driving in traffic. I was stuck in a traffic jam and I started to have a Kundalini awakening. It was very intense. It almost felt like waves of electricity were moving through my body. But I was stuck in traffic. I couldn't stop and get out of the car. It took me about an hour to find a parking spot because the traffic was moving so slowly and it was so dense, to find a spot and get out of the car. And by that time I was exhausted. I was hearing voices in my head. It was very intense. Like I knew I was doing all these exercises and that was what led to it. But this experience was overwhelming for me. It just really, it shook everything up, turned my whole life upside down. Like you were saying, finding these modalities. That was the experience that turned my life upside down. And so I knew that what I was exploring it was real. There was something to it. So back then, all these modalities weren't as available and the internet was very new. But through the internet, I did find some teachers to work with. And the main teacher that I worked with starting 2009 all the way until 2013 taught us that the spiritual path is about finding your true authentic self. And by that, I'll say it, it means beyond your mind. It's the, it's you on the soul level. Um, it's, um, it's, um, it's not the idea of yourself. And so from 2009 to 2013, it was this long process of peeling back these onion layers and finding out who I really was. In the beginning, it was curiosity. It was like this looking for these wild experiences or trying to find proof of all these stories that you hear about, you know, spirits or these multidimensional experiences. And I found them through this process, but also too, what I found was who I was. I found all the inner child woundings. I found my ego blocks. I found the good sides of myself that I didn't realize were there, and I found the bad sides of myself that I wasn't there. So I had to go through this process of sorting out all these different aspects and what it really meant to be a spiritual person, a spiritual practitioner. Um, it was a lot of work, but it was so rewarding. So then leading up to now, finding BQH, I found Alba Weinman and I found Candace Carr Goldman, the developer of BQH Online. And so I got curious and I did a session. And when I did the session um, with one of the BQH practitioners, to me, it felt like, wow, I was able to do in one session what maybe in the beginning took me months of meditation and these different work with these older practices to get to. So I thought, wow, this could really speed up the process that I went to 10 years ago for people immensely. It can really get people uh, to look at themselves and go deeper and go beyond the mind um, in one session with DQH. Uh, so yeah, so that's what really drew me into wanting to practice BQH and offer this for other people.
Wow, beautiful. And yes, I totally resonate with that, which is, as I said, beyond quantum healing and in general past life regression, hypnotherapy, that's where I started my journey. And for the first time, it was like, just a 2 to 3 hour, past life regression hypnotherapy. It kind of gives us this out out of the world experience, I should say, that we really cannot put in words. And that space of me tapping into myself and being able to kind of channel that information,
Mhm.
that was the first time I'm like, wow, there's something within me more than what I can consciously think and feel and know about. So yes, then talk to us a little bit about what this quantum beyond quantum healing is. How does a session look and feel like? What happens? Let's say a client coming to this kind of a session, BQH session.
Yeah. So when a client wants to do a PQH session, the first thing I'll do is I'll ask them to come up with a list of questions of different issues that they want to address, or just even things that they're curious about, whether it be financial, work related, some inkling they've had of a pursuit that they want to follow, so they can explore uh, in that realm as well, or they can explore relationships, or just they're just not sure. They can leave it kind of a wide open, broader type of exploration as well. So once they have their list of questions, I'll ask them to also come up with an overall intention. So once they have the intention set, then we have a solid foundation on which to start the session. So when we do a session, we'll do a water alchemy process, and we'll infuse the water with this intention. And that brings myself and the client onto the same playing field, so to speak. Um, this allows me to tune into their frequency of what their intention is. And this allows my guides and my higher self to kind of come in and assist, as well as their higher self and their guides to come in and assist. The whole session, though, is about the client, and the client has total control. So, really, I'm a facilitator. I like to think of this. I've done energy work in the past where I've been played a more active role, but with this, I like to say that it's their higher self that's in charge, and anything that's coming in for me, like my higher self, my guides, they're brought in only with the permission and at the request of the client or the client's higher self and guides. So then once we have that intention set, I'll do a mild induction process. It's sort of like a guided meditation that'll kind of bring them into the process, and kind of once they're in a space where we could begin the work, um, they'll be beyond their mind. They might be there a little bit. They'll be aware, but as we go through the process too, we can go deeper and deeper and deeper, depending on how comfortable with they are going deeper. But every time I've done a session with people, I will say that they become aware of something moving beyond the mind in themselves, whether it's subconscious motivations. Sometimes it could be their own higher self that's been nudging them to take action that they've been resistant to taking action to. Um, but however that goes, one thing that's incredible I find is that there is always something there that the client can look at and move on from and act on in their everyday life. So whether they have a very multidimensional experience or if they have a very sort of mundane experience where they're just basically looking at what's going on in their life from a very human perspective, um, there will always be something that they can take and use going forward with after a BQH session.
Wow, that's beautiful. So usually how long does the entire session kind of range in timings?
Um, Generally, sessions for me can go quite long. I'd say my average session is between 2 and 3 hours on average. The shortest session I've done is probably about hour and a half to hour 45 minutes, and then the longest session has been about 4 hours.
Mm,
Because once you get in that space beyond the mind, time gets very, it's almost not there. I
yeah.
mean, if you're really there doing the work and you have the guides coming in or your higher self coming in, um, they want it, they want to do what they want to do, and they're not worried about time. If somebody does have a time limit, they can let me know, and I can keep an eye on the time, and I can bring them out of it. But generally, if I have the time, I'll let the client take whatever time they need to take,
Mm,
especially if the energy is coming in, and it's very. I can feel a lot of times what the client is going through. So, and it's very incredible. So, my preference is to let them take whatever time it needs, and that tends to be about 3 hours for most people.
mhm. Got you. So let's now talk about what kind of changes can someone expect after the session, right? Or maybe you can also share with us a little bit of, what kind of experiences has clients in the past had with you during the session, and also after the session, what kind of, even you can share your experiences. You might have gone through, BQ head sessions, and what kind of shifts and changes has happened in your life after the sessions.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I will say one thing that a client, this has happened every time for me. One thing a client can expect is the unexpected because there is always somebody or something that comes in that kind of blows their mind a little bit. Um, to give a few examples, one woman I worked with had her great grandmother come in who she had never met, but who had been guiding her her whole life. Another client I had worked with had three past lives. Um, and it's rare that it's this intense for everybody, but this person had been shown three past lives where they had passed on, and that the trauma from these past lives had carried over into their current life. And it really explained a lot of what they were going through in this life and why they were reacting to certain situations in certain ways. So by realizing that these traumas were in the past life and not in this life, it allowed them to let go of these patterns that they had carried over into this life. It allowed them to look at that and accept that, and also to accept these patterns too. Understanding why things happen for a lot of people in these sessions allows them to accept why they do certain things and why things unfold a certain way. It gives them a level of understanding that's not traditional, but it really explains quite a bit in this life.
Uh-huh. And what kind of issues and problems and challenges maybe a person going through can come for a BQH session, right? So a lot of people, watching this interview might have different kind of challenges that they are facing in life and might be questioning, okay, how can actually BQH help me with these challenges? So what are those different type of challenges that can be uh,
Yeah.
kind of addressed with BQH?
Okay. So the person I mentioned that had three past lives, they were having a lot of trouble with relationships.
Mm.
Um, he was having trouble, a little bit of trouble with his wife, with communication, and and then trouble with friends, relationships where he just he found that he was attracting certain people over and over into his life, and then having conflict. And then when he was looking at the past lives, a lot of the people that he was attracting seemed to be very similar to the people that had killed him in these past lives. So it allowed him to see that there was a pattern to the people he was attracting, that maybe that they weren't the best people for him to have coming into his life. So it allowed him to recognize the pattern of the people that were coming in, and allowed him to take responsibility and say, no, that's not what I want. I don't want these conflicts. I don't want this recurring pattern to be happening in my life. And he was able to shift his friends to more positive uh, relationships, people that had a different way of going about things in their lives that would be better for him to be around. And then also too, that in turn helped his relationship with his wife, because he didn't have these negative people in his life. So he was able to focus more positively on his own relationship. And then another example might be a younger woman who just wasn't living up to her potential. And I find this with a lot of people too. They come to me because they feel blocked. And they're able to see what the blocks are. And when they can see what the blocks are, sometimes it might be shown in different ways. Sometimes it might be the higher self will come through in a session and say, look, you're not doing this. I've been nudging you. And a lot of times the client will know, okay, yes, I know I needed to do that and I just haven't done it. And a lot of times they just needed that nudge from the higher self or the confirmation that will come through a session to act on it because they've been hesitant or they've been doubtful. They just needed that reassurance to move forward. So sessions are great for that. for just, you have that knowing. A lot of people know, but they ignore it, or it's just one step below that subconscious layer where they're just not feeling it quite yet. And then the session will just bring them to that next level where they can say, okay, now I know the steps I need to take to move forward.
Beautiful. Yes. Um, and one of the concerns that I've kind of always heard and had as well with hypnotherapy is, a client's concern that if I do the session, what if I'm not able to be, regressed? So just a general question, with so many different clients you might have had, has there been anybody who weren't able to be regressed, or or something of that nature?
Um, so far, I haven't had anybody that hasn't had some type of experience. I did have one person that was very skeptical. And I'd say the first half of the session, they were very aware. They weren't even sure anything was happening. They were kind of questioning it a little bit. And then, so the whole session, I mean, it wasn't very intense, but then they found themselves uh, in a church. This person had since left the religion that they were raised in, but then they found themselves inside the church that they were growing up. And there was a room in the church that they used to go to and go hide away from all the adults, because this room was made this person feel comfortable. They liked hanging out there. They were just bored with the whole being there, and they just wanted to go hang out, and they thought this room was really cool. So this person found themselves in that room. So that kind of blew them away, and they were still very present in the session, but just that one little experience in that session was just enough to allow them to look at what was going on in their life. So being in that room, and this person thought, and you'll find this a lot with BQH, you'll say, is it my imagination, or is this really happening? It's a subtle line there. It's I'd say it's both. So you might be resistant in a session. You might think it's your imagination. I'd say let go and just experience that. Um, the imagination can serve as sort of like a portal for you. So if it's just your imagination and that's what you're thinking, let go. Make that your imagination a tool to explore what's going on inside of you. Really, I my main goal is to let people to just look in themselves and see what's really going on with themselves. It doesn't matter how they get there. Um, I mean, I'm talking about all these past lives and multidimensional experiences, but what I'm really trying to do is get you to look at you and go inside yourself and just feel what it really means to be you. So if somebody's skeptical or doesn't feel like they haven't been regressed, it's okay. You're making time for yourself to heal and do this inner work, and that's okay.
Yeah, that was when I got started initially, first one or two sessions, I was in that space of, hey, it feels like I'm going into some imagination. Is this even true? And all of those questioning, because I guess I was coming from a very, very logical perspective, especially, how they usually say, logical left brain activated kind of person maybe. But anyways, for me, I guess that was the kind of major challenge I personally faced. But then later, every session, regardless of whether I have a perception that, okay, this might be an imagination, but still it has served me. So at a later time, I was able to look back and say, oh, right, even though I had a feeling that all of this is just an imagination, still there's so much shifts and changes happening in my life over the period of, those few months that I had been doing one or two of these sessions. It was like,
Mhm.
wow, regardless of what I perceive it as, still there's shifts and changes happening as how I wanted my life to be.
Yep, yep,
So
absolutely.
yes, beautiful. And what are those kind of books that you also wanted to share to the viewers here?
Oh, okay. So a lot of times when I do a session with somebody and they've had some profound changes, almost always I'll do a follow up with them and I'll just say, "How are you doing? How's everything going?" And sometimes people will want further guidance. And, it might be somebody who doesn't have some sort of framework. They might not have a spiritual practice. I will always say to them, definitely practice meditation because that can continue this work that we've done in the session. And if you want to do sessions in the future, it'll allow you to go deeper. So meditation is one, and then the grounding work is the other, which is pretty common. Most energy workers and
Mm.
spiritual practitioners will suggest those. Um, but there's books also too. If they want to continue that inner work with a little bit more of a framework, um, one book I like to always suggest is The Four Agreements by Don Jose Ruiz, and that will bridge, um, this physical world and some of these more subconscious layers that you'll deal with in the BQH session, because he talks about the dream and then the dream versus reality and how our mind works to play into this. So he'll give you an understanding of how the mind is at work in sort of you creating your identity and how you see yourself and this perception that we develop and getting closer to reality. So this is a great book to work with in conjunction with BQH. Another one is the Tao Te Ching, which is Canadian meditation. It's very a lot of the passages they're very seem open ended, um, but they allow your imagination to be exercised because there's a lot of wisdom, but the wisdom is very subtle. And you have to sort of contemplate and get into that inner space to extract the meaning from the Tao Te Ching. Another one is Being Dharma by Ajahn Chah. He was a Theravada Buddhist monk, and he started well, he was a forest monk. He was in Thailand. They have a sect of their Theravada Buddhism called the Forest Monks, where they practice in the forest. And he's one of the best known forest monks. And that also breaks down Buddhism in a way that's very easy to understand. But what I found it gets to is that difference between reality and perception of self as well. And that's a good tool. And another thing is A Book of Five Rings by Miyamoto Musashi. And a lot of this is about discipline. So I found in order for me, before I found all these modalities, the thing that really helped my spiritual practice was developing discipline. I will say when I started, I didn't have a lot. And that's what my teacher that taught that the spiritual journey was about your authentic self. He gave us a series of disciplines to work through. One was meditation, but there were many others. For instance, he would say, get up at 4 o'clock in the morning for 1 month and go for a 1 hour walk. So, simple disciplines like that, but your ego mind will fight against it. So, what that does, developing some simple disciplines, you can make disciplines up for yourself, but ones that your ego doesn't like, it allows you to see how your mind is working and your ego is how you are bumping up against your ego, how your ego might be limiting you. It might be something as simple as folding your clothes or making your bed every day in the morning. It sounds so mundane. It sounds boring. It's no fun, but uh, the rewards is that you get a greater perception of yourself, and it allows you to get beyond your mind and feeling. And it does give space for your imagination to work. So another great tool in conjunction with PQH, which can be very free form, but you get in a space where you get an understanding of your mind. So
Yes.
you can,
Wow. Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing those different books. Yes, I usually read at least one or two books a month, but looks like none of those books I have already read. So I'm like looking forward to reading some of those that kind of caught my attention here. So thank you so much for sharing the book. And I guess we are kind of coming to the end of this interview here. So my dear
okay.
beautiful viewers, if you would like to, book a session with Ben, you can click on the link, and we also have a 10% off discount coupon code for you. It's called Zero Point. So when you contact Ben, just let him know that you found him from Zero Point, and he'll give you that 10% off discount coupon. All right. And do you also have some kind of a free consultation or something that people can kind of talk to you about?
Yep, absolutely. They can get in touch with me through River of Healing, riveroflighthealing.com. And they can email me through my email address through the website. And yeah, so I give a free half an hour consultation
Mm.
uh, for anybody who's interested. And we can talk about what you might want out of a
Yes,
session.
yes. Perfect. So, yes, my dear viewers, you also have a free consultation with him. So, whatever kind of challenges you're facing in life, you can kind of have a book a free consultation with him, talk to him, and see if BQH is going to help you, and then jump into a session with him if that's what you feel can help. So, yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Ben, for all that beautiful conversation and so much knowledge that you have transferred to us through this short session here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Vishnupriya. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you so much, my dear beautiful viewers. If you're watching this on YouTube, you get to share this video, you get to subscribe to the channel so you can watch all the interviews that we are creating here. And you can also share this video with your friends, family members, especially anybody going through certain different kind of challenges in their life. I see that BQH is one of those beautiful modalities that can create so much transformation in a person's life. So if you know of anybody going through major challenges in their lives, you can share this video with them too. Thank you so much for all your support. I'm going to see you next time. Thank you, Ben. See you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.